All right, guys, I'm going to give it a second. So just hang tight. A lot to talk about. Sorry to break in the middle of a Sunday. But it was funny. I remember on election night 2016, President Trump was late. He came to that podium in New York and says, sorry, important business. And I feel like today, I know I'm interrupting you on a Sunday, but we had important business to get to. Well, as you can imagine, Joe Biden has dropped out. I gotta admit, I'm just say what you will about me, but I was just like, I was literally like the first person who texted me said, you know what? I've been watching the show. You were right. Told you so. And I'm not trying to do like I told you so, but I think that, we have this morning meeting that we've been doing at 8:30 in the morning, and Mark Halperin had some really good reporting. He got in there saying that it was there. And the problem was, as I told you guys last week, I got over the tipping point. What happened? Well, once the pushback and the nuances in the PR are always important. And I'm reading already Arctic Fox saying that some are saying that Biden didn't write the resignation letter. I'm sure he approved it, but I doubt he wrote it. He probably was given. Mark Halperin was saying that John Meacham was very involved. But it is interesting. Here we are, 2:00 on a Sunday, Biden out. Okay. It's interesting because the question was, will it go till Monday? And from all the reporting so far, he started informing his staff about 25 minutes or so prior to the decision. You saw this, I want to break this down for you slowly. The statement from Biden is kind of weird. I gotta say that it's like, hey, I want to focus. It's like, it's very LBJ, like, oh, I've got important work to finish, so I'm not going to run for re-election. There's a big difference though. Biden, we are now days away from the Democratic convention. They have been adamant that they are running again. And I got to be honest with you, if there's one thing that kept me from thinking that this would happen, it was his resentment of how Barack Obama treated him in 2016. Joe Biden will never forget the loyalty that he exhibited in his mind. This isn't my words, this is him. Joe Biden feels as though Barack Obama pushed him aside after being a loyal vice president for 2 terms to take Hillary Clinton. And then he comes back and says, see, I told you so, I won. And the idea that Obama at all is pushing him out, I think it was something that really put a huge chip on his shoulder. As a side note, I will tell you, I tweeted something like this out the other day. We got a lot of media stories about the Trump White House, the infighting, the backstabbing, whatever. What these guys did to Joe Biden was unbelievable. I mean, saying one thing to his face and then stabbing him in the back. If there's something that, like, I will just tell you, like, you want Nancy Pelosi, I'm telling you, that woman, what she did to Biden, for all the talk about how, he's this and that publicly, she shivved that guy politically. And Barack Obama, I mean, it's funny though, if you're Barack Obama, you have to say, hey, you're right, Joe, you beat I picked Hillary, I should have picked you. And then you still come after him again. And the reason I bring this all up is just the idea that the Trump White House was, all these process stories about the backstabbing and the infighting. And yet here's what's going on in the Democratic Party today. This guy just got 14 million votes. Yeah, Joni's saying, remember the snake. Yeah, good point. This guy was, this is a party that's been focused entirely on reminding us about democracy and being under attack and under threat. And they just threw this guy to the curb because he can't win right now. By the way, yes, some of the polls are starting to show, and I get it. But at the end of the day, over and over and over again, these guys knew it. And this letter, I hate to say, I'm sorry, I know I'm bouncing around, but this is a lot to break down. Let me just go through. Here's the letter, right? Over the past 3.5 years, we've made great progress as a nation. Today, the America, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he fills in we appointed the first African American to the Supreme Court. Has to do that. Significant climate change. It's all my like liberal progressive stuff. I know I couldn't have done this without you, the American people, blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, but here's where I think it gets interesting. It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, this wasn't your intention. You told everyone that there was no way that you would ever not do it. You chastised people. Your team went after people. Okay? It has been my greatest honor, and while it is I believe it's in the best interest of my party and my country for me to stand down and focus on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of his term. There we go. Okay, so a couple questions off the bat, and I'm not done with the letter yet. Number one, what's the reason? What's the reason? I don't feel well. I'm busy. I got to go to hot yoga. I mean, and I'm being serious. How is this? No one, I get it. We all know, you all know, if you watch the show every night, you get it. How does he get away with not addressing the elephant in the room? No pun intended. He doesn't say, my health has become an issue. My doctors are concerned. Nancy Pelosi's a horrible person. I don't care. Give me something. But the idea that you've mentioned nothing about why. What? I don't get it. How do you get away with this? If this was like a what do you call it? A writing project for 10th grade, the teacher would come back and say, well, it's very well constructed and I like your paragraph set, but you don't explain why. You don't just get to say this. And by the way, this gets back to this whole idea. I think because we all know the why. And because if you ask the why, then the second question is, well, how do you then make the case to continue on as president? But no one in the media at CNN or any of these places is going to, because they're like, okay, well, let's just move beyond that. I'll speak to the nation later about this in more detail about my decision. Okay, you just drop out and you don't think that there's any explanation? And I'm a Republican. I mean, like we all know where I am on this. I know where you are. But the president of the United States, weeks before the convention starts, drops out of the race. And there's no why in the letter. How do you get away with that? For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work, and let me express my heartfelt gratification for the American people. I believe today, what I always have, there's nothing in America we can't do. I get it. Again, well, okay, why? What is, how do you get away with that? You get away with that with a media that allows it, okay? All right, so let's focus on where we go from here. He puts this statement out, and then he puts a tweet out a little while later saying that he's endorsing Kamala. I know some people are immediately jumping on this and saying, well, he didn't endorse her in the letter. I will tell you, I think that was intentional. They wanted to methodically break this out. I get to step down. I get to tout me, and then I'll focus on you. He needed a moment to him. Praise me, tell me how great I am, get the accolades coming out. And then 30 minutes later, okay, now it's about her. That's what this was. And I don't really care, to be honest with you. I mean, he did it. I was saying this before. There we go. Let me just read this off the screen. You can see it up there. But, my fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination. What do you mean you didn't accept it? You told us, I mean, and now, I mean, look, again, let's be honest about what this is. He did accept the nomination. And to focus on my duties and energy as president for the remainder. My very first decision was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and now it's the best decision I made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement to Kamala to be our nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's long past. So, let's just remember. So I know I've already been getting a ton of questions about why and what's going on. Here's the deal, so that you all understand why what's going on here. They wanted to make sure this was locked up for her. So it appears as though she got it on her own. She's already put out a tweet saying, I want to earn this. Okay. Well, so it's going to be open, but gosh, there's only one candidate. Who wins? Well, guess what? If there's one candidate, that candidate wins. There will be no one that runs against her. Okay? I want everyone to understand that. She will be the only candidate. Therefore, the talking point is it was open. Anybody could have run. But you know what? No one entered. So they greased the skids for her so it can look like this was a fair and open and transparent process. No one chose to step up. It's not going to happen. There's no Michelle Obama. There is no Gavin Newsom. Okay. I have been saying this from the jump. If you've been watching the show every night, you know that I have been saying this. He was not going to do this without locking her in. This has been the most progressive presidency ever. That was his stated goal. It was in my book, Radical Nation. They have defined success by the people that they've appointed. First transgender this, first gay cabinet member, in whatever, that leads a department because you had to get around Rick Grinnell, whatever. First African-American, you saw it in the statement. He was not going, two things. Number one, he was not going to turn his back on her. He wants to be able to say, if this happens, I did it. Remember those gas station pump stickers that said, I did this, and it was all a joke because of the gas prices? Well, in this case, it's real. No, Gary, I don't. I'm sorry, gosh. Gary's asking, do I think Hillary would jump in? Absolutely not. They've actually they're going to endorse her. I guarantee it. I think Clinton already has. I think Hillary's right behind if she hasn't already. They get it. I think, do they want to jump in, Gary? Yes. Will she jump in? No. This is Kamala's, folks. And anybody who tells you any differently between now and the convention is wrong. I have called this over and over again. I picked J.D. Vance. I picked Kamala Harris. Look, so if you go somewhere else and you hear it on CNN or the New York Times, this is where you come to find out what's happening in politics. We've got great sources. The morning meeting with Halpern, we talked about him dropping out over this weekend. The big question is, yeah, Rocky, I get it. I don't believe a single word. This is all, I still can't believe democracy. Well, the heck with democracy. Let's put her in, right? By the way, can you imagine Hunter is freaking out? He's like, should we call the folks at Burmese and see what they think? This is unbelievable. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. So they need to modify the next debate to occur between Harris and Trump. Absolutely. But I think that Trump is going to play smart and say, hey, until she becomes the nominee, I'm not agreeing to anything. And that's the smart move. Why would you agree? You don't know that she's just because, again, make them earn it. Make them go through this. I will say this, and I've told you this before. Campaigns just don't happen overnight. Conventions just don't happen overnight. They take years, months of planning. Now, will they adjust and the media will cover for them? Absolutely. Will Hollywood rush in and help Kamala? Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. They are going to, unite around this decision. The big question on my mind right now is who becomes her running mate. We discussed this on the morning meeting. We will discuss it tomorrow on the morning meeting, and we'll discuss it on the Sean Spicer Show tomorrow night. I believe the leading candidates are the following. Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky. Does he offer anything? No. She likes him. They have a relationship. And so just like Trump picked J.D. Vance, I think she's going to pick somebody. She could pick someone like that. That's number one. Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania, governor there. If Pennsylvania is as much in play, then I would think that. And then the other two that I think we talked about in the morning meeting, the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. There was a poll today, by the way, that showed Trump up 7 in Michigan. Now, I'm going to talk to you about what this all means politically in just a second. And Jay, you're right. Mark Kelly of Arizona is my 4th. The first one, the Beshear one, is all about her. She wants a comfort level. She needs to have someone. And again, you're parachuting into this decision. Go. Tell me who you want. I mean, it's like someone calling you right now and saying, I've got dinners at the best restaurant in town. You have 10 seconds. Tell me who you want to join. 3 other people. Go. 1, 2, 3. She's got to make a decision real quick. There's no huge vetting operation. This has got to happen. And you got a nomination issue, right? They have to figure out now, ballot access wise, how to make all this happen. So you got to get and I know this stuff sounds silly, but like a new plane, a new sign, website, all that stuff takes time. And if you're Biden and you're launching your presidential campaign, you've got months to get a presidential website up and running. It doesn't just happen. Now, will people run backflips and do all this stuff to make it happen? Will they have people in Wilmington, Delaware suddenly flip switches and say, oh, we're going to help you, Madam Vice President? Yes. It'll happen. But I'm just telling you, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, they have 4 months until the election and frankly, 2 months until early voting. These things usually take a year, right? So you're doing all this. We used to use this phrase at the RNC once in a while, but you're building the airplane in the air. There is going to be added pressure for him to resign. Okay. No question about it. I don't think he will. There is look at the track record. You ever see those ads on TV? Past performance is no guarantee of future returns, but they are. At some point, look at the track record and look at what we've been predicting on this show over and over again. You're going to get told that Michelle Obama is going to be the nominee. You're going to get told that Hillary Clinton's going to run. Not true, not true. You're also going to get told that he's going to get pressured to resign. Not true. Unless there's some medical episode, it is not going to happen. Okay? Trust me on this. And I get it. There's a bunch of clickbaity people out there that want to get you to believe that you should follow them because they're going to say incendiary things. It's not going to happen. Okay? We have been very clear and our track record is strong when it comes to how things are going to play in politics. Follow this show. Tell your friends that if they really want to know what's happening, this is the place to come. And this is important for that. Now, it was funny. I mean, as a former staffer, I always do get intrigued by how this went down because you saw the White House and the campaign staff in the last couple of days in particular coming out very, very strong. He's not. He's in it to win it. Even Kamala. And this all changed. Now, I think that in the back of their minds, everybody reads the same stuff. And at some point, when you read it enough, the narrative starts to set in and you're kind of going against the backside of the wave. You can't swim over it. I learned that in the Trump White House, right? That there's a point at which the narrative sets in and then it's hard to undo it. And I think we saw that with Biden. He knew that he couldn't undo this. I think he was holding on just out of spite. Excuse me. Excuse me. But they were saying that he notified staff 20, 25 minutes before he did this. That's amazing. I mean, can you imagine sitting in Wilmington? You're already, on a Sunday in July in Wilmington, Delaware. And now you're going, oh my gosh. I told you this, though, that this COVID diagnosis, whatever the CDC came up with, that was his timeline. And guess what? It ends today. They were putting out those notices. If you notice this, the last couple of days, the White House putting out these COVID, like, oh, he's still considered mild conditions. That was buying time. You don't normally give that kind of update. Oh, today, like they were buying time for him to make a decision. Karen, you're right. Early voting starts in September. And again, this is why I would just, and you're also right. The Trump advanced decline. Yeah, we're the debates. By the way, if you think about this, I've said this before, but I want to tell you, if there's the single greatest people culpable for him dropping out today are twofold. Number one, his own staff that wanted this to happen. That debate was it. No recovery. Number two is CNN. You think about this. Just stop for a second and realize this. In 2016, CNN got hammered, right? You remember this for giving too much exposure to Donald Trump and carrying his events live. And now they're the ones, because of this debate, that pushed Biden out. Just saying, it's interesting. How they handle this convention is going to be beyond me. How do you like the idea that you're going to sit there and I mean, again, like I said, logistically, like you've got all these backdrops, Biden, Harris, and now someone's calling up, going, can you pull all down because we're gonna have to redo everything. And the Delaware delegation just went sitting in the front, just sitting in the back. I mean, I'm not joking about this. You think Delaware was going to normally sit in the front of the hall? Bye, Delaware. There is something kind of weird and ironic about 1968 Chicago, 2024 Chicago. LBJ drops out, says, or doesn't seek the nomination. But, think about it. There's something weird going on. Also, and I don't mean to be too tie all this together, but we had this hearing on Capitol Hill tomorrow about the shooter in the U.S. Secret Service. You think that's going to get any attention now? Do you? I don't. All right. The big question that I've already gotten asked a bunch is, what does this mean? So let me tell you the good news first. The good news is this. I think we're still going to win. I feel very confident about that, especially because Harris can't break away entirely from, I mean, how do you say, yeah, I don't agree with the Biden agenda? That being said, folks, it's politics. What do you think's going to happen? She's going to say, well, he was the president, I was the vice president, and I didn't agree with that, but this is how it works, and here's what I would do, and here's how I would do it differently. Okay? I'm just telling you, if you think that she's going to sit back and defend the Biden-Harris agenda, suddenly it's going to be the Harris, that was Biden's, here I am. It's not, she's not going to own, yes, we'll tag her with the border and we'll get a bunch of stuff. But here's the point that I want to make. So I said the good news up front. We will win this race. She is a horrible candidate. She was rejected by her own voters in the primary. But I want to explain the dynamic that's going to happen right now around the Democratic ticket. They are going to be unbelievably grateful to Joe. Okay. Tim Hogan, who's the Democrat strategist that's on the morning meeting with me and Mark Halpern at 8:30, and you're obviously all welcome to join. It actually starts tomorrow at 9:00. We moved it forward because folks on the West Coast wanted a little more time to be able to get up and watch it. Tim Hogan said the other day, and this is the analogy that I couldn't think of a better one. If it's raining and you walk outside from your office and a coworker comes up to you in a car with an umbrella and says, would you like a ride? Hop in, it's pouring rain. And you jump in the car with them. For that ride, they're like your best friend. And that's what's happening right now. They are going to say, we might not have liked Kamala. We might not have picked her, but Biden did the right thing that we all asked for. He stepped aside. And so we need to rally around her because she's got the umbrella and she's got the car for us to ride in. I'm telling you, that's the mentality within the party right now that I've talked that is going to emerge. They will rally around her. And all of these little downticks that you've seen in polls. Now, I don't know that it'll last because we don't know Kamala. It's like a sugar high. You're going to see a bounce for her, especially, whoever she picks. But she's, think about those VP picks that I just talked about. That's where it's going to go. And there will be a bounce. And then, but women, Black women, there is a lot of people and all these depressed Democrats that you've heard of, right? The Nancy Pelosi types are going to rally around her and be like, she's amazing and she's younger and youthful. And right. They will give her a transformation a la Hollywood. I'm just saying this because I think that there are some folks on our side that think that somehow this is going to be a cakewalk. It is not a cakewalk. This is going to be difficult, folks. And if she picks a Shapiro or a Mark Kelly from Arizona, again, I'm not saying that that's a guaranteed recipe for success, but it makes it a lot harder. Those guys are, again, do I think that Gretchen Whitmer is extremely popular in Michigan? No. But she's got an operation there, a great operation. And if her only task is basically run for governor again, but you get to be VP, which is what it would be. I mean, that's what they're talking about with JD Vance, if you've heard that, right? Just stay inside Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and win one. If Trump does that, it's over. That's where we are electorally. But this, people weren't on the left and the independents had concerns about Joe Biden's mental acuity. This issue is off the table. It's gone. It's done. So the race has to be recast now with Kamala as the new person. But you can't talk about age and mental acuity. I mean, granted, yes, we will go after her on the border and incompetence and blah, 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 blah. But I'm just telling you, if you think that somehow this isn't going to be, I know. If I hear the burden by what is unburdened, and Karen just sent that out, that is going to get played over and over again. And I get it. She is cringeworthy on a lot of fronts when it comes to some of the word salads. But I go back to my umbrella comment that Tim Hogan made. People will suck it up and say, okay, I don't like she sounds cringy, but you know what? She's younger, she's more dynamic, and she's progressive. And, the thing with Biden was he was just too old. I'm just telling you, like I said, I still feel very good. She is not a strong candidate, but it redefines the race. And as much as I was saying about the Democrats getting up to speed, when I was at the RNC for 2 cycles, we spent almost years getting ready for potential Democratic nominees. Opposition research, booklets on them, backgrounds, etc. It doesn't just happen. So I'm telling you that, I know it sounds easy because I think for the people who are on this, who watch the show, we all get it. We all see her. But there's a lot of people that sat on the sidelines and said, I can't vote for Biden because I don't think he's got it there. And I don't like some of what Trump's saying. Well, if you can take the Biden off, she doesn't win everybody over, Kamala, but she might be able to win enough to make it tighter. Again, do I still think we'll win? Yes. But this has completely changed the game. And I think everybody needs to understand that. And that's important, to understand the dynamic has changed significantly. I'm reading some of your stuff now. Put the election now, yeah. No one is going to vote for her because of her personality, electability, and her track record, Nikki says. Yeah, I get it. But if you don't like Trump, there's this big issue of double haters. We've all heard the people who didn't like either. If you can now say, all right, I don't like her either, but she's not Biden, I'm going to suck it up and vote for her. Again, I'm just telling you what's going to happen. I know this. You will see an uptick. I mean, one, don't freak out. It's sort of like it's a new item on the menu. You go, oh, let's go back. Let's try it again. There's a new item. And she's going to have a boatload of cash. All of these Hollywood people are going to go, okay, Biden did what we asked him to do. Now we need to surround her. Okay? I'm just telling you, that's how this is going to play out. So let me just kind of recap a couple things. One, the morning meeting with Mark Halperin and Tim Hogan. Every morning this coming week, I forgot what day it is, at 9 a.m. If you just go to this channel, make sure you're subscribing and hit the notification button. Remember, just so we're clear, guys, there's a lot of people, like I said, who sell clickbait, go around, oh, Michelle Obama, da-da-da. I get it. But look at the track record. Who's actually telling you what's happening? And then it happens. We know what we're doing. The morning meeting, Mark Halpern was the guy who did this. Thank you for the super chat, Favli Pollard, straight up dog. I thought you were telling me to sit up. I'll do that too. But I appreciate that. That's kind of you. Thank you for the super chat. Always appreciated. I'm just telling you, we are going to get a lot of stuff coming at us in the next 4 months, and people are going to tell you all sorts of crazy things. Look at who they are. What's their background? What's their experience? What's their track record? And if you look at what's been going on in this show, and you guys ask some great questions that I will see and then go, okay, let me go research it because this got brought up, that got brought up. I take a ton of notes based on what you guys ask. And I try to come to the show every night with that information, those guests, etc. So I'm just telling you now, we're going to discuss this on the morning meeting tomorrow. All you have to do is hit the notification button, the subscribe button here. I'll be back on the show tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. We're premiere, and any night that you can join us on the premiere is fantastic and it's fun. And then I've got a Substack out there. If you just go to SeanSpicer.com, it's free. You can just sign up, and there's always polls and insights and polling numbers and that kind of stuff that make it kind of cool. And I love getting your feedback. Again, this is why I like doing these lives, which is another great point of the notification button, because I read your comments and questions, and then I'll go figure out, okay, this makes sense. You're very welcome, Nikki. I appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words. All right. It's Sunday. I appreciate everyone jumping on here for a little bit. Again, tomorrow at 9 in the morning for the morning meeting, 6 o'clock for the Sean Spicer show. We are in for a wild ride. A wild ride. And the other thing is Peggy's saying, surely the Trump team has been preparing for this. Yeah, I get they're no question. You're absolutely right, Peggy. They're preparing. The problem is that I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's like doing a fire drill or something, right? You're prepared, but then once the event or the issue or the incident occurs, the dynamic changes. And so, yes, they may have known. You heard President Trump talk about this. The reality is, we probably knew that. I mean, at least I said last week, we started to know this was coming. Okay, but until it happens, right now, people see Kamala Harris as this one-off loyal VP kind of person. Being the nominee sees you in a whole different light. She's not, now people are going to, all right, well, I never thought about her as president. Huh, what do I think now? What do I know about her? God, okay, I get it. It's a different, and this is exactly right, this Hollywood money. Jeffrey Katzenberg, do you think that they're going to sit back? Steve is saying, what are the chances the convention will go to a second or third round and Michelle Obama will reluctant to agree, save democracy? And look, I just want to be clear, Steve, not going to happen. Kamala Harris will have this thing locked up solid. By the time that we wake up tomorrow morning, there will not be a single piece of dissension. Everybody's on board on this. Trust me. And if I'm wrong, I will say so tomorrow, Steve. Watch the show. I'm not going to be wrong on this. I've been very clear about why this was going to happen the way it did. I got a pretty high batting average right now, Steve. But if I'm wrong, I will apologize to you on air tomorrow night. But trust me when I tell you that by noon tomorrow, the wagons are going to have circled. These guys want to win so bad. Think about how, just for a second, stop and read. They just pushed this guy aside who went through a primary, 14 million people in the Democratic primary who care about democracy and transparency, went through a process, and then they were like, see ya. What is, and no one cares about this. Again, they will say and do whatever they have to say. Understand that. What rules? Who cares? All that matters is that we win. That is their motto. So with that in mind, just know that nothing's going to happen. She will be locked in as the nominee by tomorrow at noon. There will be no dissension. None, zero, nada. Bernie, AOC, you name it. Everybody's going to be on board. Kamala Harris is a great candidate. She will be fine. Blah, 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 blah. He'll be on board. They're all pissed, but this is what they wanted. You can't push the guy out the door and say, oh, yeah, I need one more thing. So understand what's happening. It's going to be her. And it is her. It's not even up for discussion. She will have this thing so locked up by tomorrow. They'll have I mean, again, I'm not saying it's easy, but they will have this done. Just keep an eye on this, because remember, this news broke on the morning meeting last week that this is what was going to happen and how it's going to happen. Nailed it. Mark Halperin, 100%. And now, if you want to know who's going to be her VP pick or et cetera, keep tuning in. I know you got a million places to do it, but the question that I will leave you with again is, who's got a track record of being right and the experience to understand what will and will not happen. And the rest of these folks that are out there right now, not everyone, but most of them, don't know what they're doing. They've never been in the game. They've never taken a swing at that. To my first campaign in 1994. I feel like Joe Biden right now. Listen, folks, my dad always used to say, Joey, Shawnee, if you're doing a camp, no, what was it? Anyway. But they are going to ride this day out. And the other thing is, just so we're clear, I think Republicans are wasting their breath by trying to get the guy to resign. Who cares? He's not going to be the nominee anymore. Focus on her. Don't get distracted. Eye on the prize, baby. Eye on the prize. And that's what I think we need to understand. She is going to be the nominee, and anything that we do that isn't focused on her and whoever she picks as a running mate is a distraction and a waste of time. Stay focused. Okay? All right. I want to get you back to your Sundays. I appreciate you being with us. Thanks for everyone who tuned in on the first as well, channel 347 on direct television, and all over the various platforms that the first is on. Obviously for us, it's YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Facebook. But I appreciate you being with us and jumping in on a Sunday. For a lot of us here, at least on the East Coast, it's an absolutely beautiful day. So I will see you guys soon. Appreciate you being with us. Thank you. Appreciate all your kind words. Who's running the country? We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.